Welcome. Hope everybody had a great trip in. Thanks for allowing me to come speak. I'm hoping I can speak loud enough everybody can hear me. Can everybody hear me okay?
No, that won't work. Stephen, I'm sorry. We only have one of these, so we have to switch these. I apologize. I got a little too excited and forgot. You want to put it right back here.
Get you taken care of.
Put that in your pocket. Thanks for putting up with us.
All right, so as our session is here, how do we make everything work as one? I'm going to give you some real life examples of things that we've done over the years. Kind of an agenda real quick. I'm not going to spend much time here, just a quick overview, who I am, introduction to JBT, and then jump right into the case study, the problems, the solutions, and where we got the benefits from. So I'm the Director of Business Systems New Technology for JBT Corporation for one of our groups. I'm lying here a little bit. I have a little bit more than 20 years of experience in this. I actually started in engineering world when I was about 19 years old and have done just about every job you can imagine. I've ran maintenance organizations of very large staff, done millions of square feet of facilities, infrastructure, mostly airports and aviation sectors. Done a lot of EAM, CMMS when it was originally called that. So many years of doing this. A little bit about my company that I work for. We're spun off from FMC Technologies. I'm sure everybody knows FMC Technologies. How many of you flew in on a plane today? Or yesterday? Just about everybody. Believe it or not, the passenger boarding bridge you walk down is manufactured by JBT Corporation. So that bridge you walk down, we manufacture a little bit over 80% of the world's passenger boarding bridges. Anybody have orange juice this morning or chicken nuggets in the last week or so? Your kids had chicken nuggets? I'm sure just about everybody says yes. That, any citrus done is done by a piece of FMC equipment or JBT equipment today out of our citrus division. And almost every chicken nugget made here, at least in the US and a lot of the world, is gone through one of our processing pieces of equipment to make those nuggets cut with high-speed lasers, or what I'll call the sumo knife on a blade that would scare any of us to have to get in and work on that equipment. So you're actually very familiar with our equipment. Just see it in the background. Some of the things that, why do we do this? I think, it's our time performance. What we want to know, is our equipment performing? Is it being utilized? We're always looking for the time savings. And the time savings not only just in data entry, but repair time. Non-needed PMs. I think Ralph pointed that out. Are we doing PMs we don't need to be doing? The answer is yes. The answer is, I've got maintenance workers out there who are doing PMs that's causing my equipment to fail. So do we keep doing it? Are we analyzing that to say, enough's enough? Or we just continue doing it because that was what was written in the manual 20 years ago? Are we really looking at what needs to be done there? Always cost avoidance. We're always looking to reduce our cost, and that's always going to be a factor as we go forward. And, system and work management. This is really a struggle that I've gone through in the last 20-some years. What level of detail do we track our assets at? And I've come in the last couple of years and says, if I'm not going to repair it, I'm not going to put it in the maintenance systems, and I'm not going to track it anymore, because why put the labor to put it in? I'm never going to write a report off of it. I'm never going to go against it. Well, now I come back and says, well, now if I tie it to an IoT platform, I need to know where my data is being fed from, because now I got everything talking together. Now I take that and tie it to the financial system. So now we got a lot more details and things we look at. So now I took, kind of a double approach. If I'm going to maintain it, yes, I'll put it in. If I'm going to have data fed from it to my systems, I'm going to put it in and track it today. I'm going to take 3 examples, just kind of go through 3 of the examples we've done. One of the examples was facilities. This was terminal energy management, labor cost savings, baggage handling systems, what we've done there. And this is conveyance systems apply to anything with conveyor moving parts. A lot of you probably come from industries where you've got conveyors in your operation. And for us, the gate turnaround was a big issue for us. And this takes twofold. Was equipment being utilized? Number one. And number two, what's the comfort level of all the passengers going through the airport and through that equipment? If we can get the slide to change. There it goes. Whoop, now it's too fast. I think I missed one. There we go. So my first step here is, define the goals. Stop and define your goals before you do anything. Before you go anywhere, what do I want to achieve? Why am I doing this? What is my C-level management looking for? And each one of these is just a little bit different. There's a lot of similarities. Reduce and manage costs, you're always going to see up there. Track time to repair. Does anybody track time to repair their assets? How long does it take for somebody to get there and repair those assets if they're critical? Do you really know that time? We do now. We know it down to the second in most of our cases. And that's not an easy thing to do, but in our world, if you miss a flight or you miss, making delivery, it adds up. Kind of the FedEx model, I guess, of the world. And of course, how many hours of operation we get from that equipment. And I always take this model and, the enterprise pyramid, we take it and say one step further. This is where we actually added IoT many years ago and says we have this crawl method, which is, I've defined my assets, I got everything working. Now we've got to, stand up and walk. Now we get some basic reporting, some basic tools out of it. And then we get to the run stage where now we're getting some analytics and stuff. And now we get to the fly stage with the IoT introduced where things are talking to themselves. They're interacting with themselves. They're making decisions for us. Now we've defined those decisions, but they're making them for us. And for me, it's always stop and define your reports. I always ask one question whenever I go into a company for the first time. And I've had one customer ever be able to do this. If you could only have 5 reports to run your business, can you define those 5 reports? I've asked this 100 times in my career. Only one customer has ever even attempted to define those 5 reports before we got started. And so, if anything I will give you, it's to stop and define those reports. And of course, the last 2 bullet points are probably the biggest ones here. Test and verify that data. So what you think you need, even before you get started, stop, test it. How am I going to get the results? If the results I'm going to get, are they going to be valid? Are they going to be what I need? And verify. Always verify. And you'll see me tell one of the stories here. The example that takes place from lack of verification. And then go through the next steps that you've got in your roadmap and define what that roadmap looks like. For us, next we go to establish the baseline. Then we move up through, verify, add the assets and the inventory into our enterprise asset management systems. I don't even start on the interface to our IoT platforms until that step is done. And there's a big reason why for us. Because if I don't have all the assets properly set up, why am I going out and spending all the labor and the effort and the cost to do the integration on the other pieces if I don't have a way to manage everything? Now, obviously, when I set up, our IoT platforms, they have their own reporting and their own tools and everything, but we're looking for a full life cycle on how we do that. Once again, you'll see me say test and verify very many times. Once you get everything working, stop, test. Is it accurate? I cannot tell you how many millions of dollars this one costs by not doing, where somebody assumes the data is right, or somebody assumes I'm talking to that VAV box up there, yet I'm talking to one over here 10 rooms down. Do we know that it's coming from? Do we know what's happening? Don't be afraid to make system changes. Plan for it. It's going to happen. You're going to start on your your integration path, and your mapping path, and plan for time in your roadmaps to make those changes. And of course, once again, I'm going to monitor and validate. All along, I'm going to try to control my cost, because that's what everybody else above me or above you are looking for, is what's my cost going to be? Are we controlling that cost? So what's the benefits that we've seen from doing some of this? Well, they've been huge to us. Believe it or not, that was taken maybe 3 or 4 days ago from one of our live reports. This report goes out every single morning to a team of executives. And what are they looking for? Are we meeting our goals daily? So they're looking at the performance and uptime of all of our equipment that they may be monitoring, and they're looking for how long does it take to get somebody there to repair this equipment. For us, like I said, minutes and seconds matter, and so we put that as one of our metrics to track. And I'll tell you, when we started doing this, we were nowhere close to these numbers. We were probably equipment running somewhere between the 70–80%, and if we could get guys there in 20 or 30 minutes, and some days, we were doing really well. This one was actually taken a few years ago, but I thought this was a really great example of some of the benefits we got from doing this. So we started looking at our corrective maintenance work orders. And what we're looking at is corrective maintenance work orders of equipment that had more than 10 at a time. And just looking at how many times we reduced that corrective maintenance work orders. So think about it. I got 10 corrective maintenance work orders for a piece of equipment over and over and over again. And I'm trying to track that. I mean, truly, that is poor performance. But we had no matrix put in place. We had no systems in place. So we didn't know how bad we were. And then we start tracking of how well the performance really is. And you know, we trend way down and made some huge impacts over just a couple of years. Maybe we'll get this to change. I'm starting to think we need batteries. Can you change that for me? Here's another great example we did. This is an airport terminal facility. Went in there, obviously wanted to reduce our energy consumption. And looked at all the things we could do. We said we have real-time monitoring on HVAC, lighting systems, control systems, elevators and escalators, airport signage. We monitor just about everything we can touch in those facilities. We're starting to monitor even more today, believe it or not. We thought we had everything, but no, we needed more as we go forward. But in just one facility, just looking at temperature control, lighting control, equipment optimization, the one I didn't put there was just looking at the bills coming in every month. We did not realize that we had different rate plans on every single building because they got metered at different times. And so as we started into this analysis, we started building our reports, we started doing our data validation, we understood we don't have a same rate plan. First thing we do is start negotiating rate plans, but in this one facility, you know, $250,000 a year, $685 a day. That's a lot of money to somebody. And so it made a large impact to them. Go ahead and go to next, if you would. You change slides for me. Thank you. Baggage handling systems. This is about 32,000 linear feet of baggage handling systems. We implemented some simple changes. All of them's got photo eyes on there that times out, looks at, you know, when they're operational. We changed the time limit when things would stop running. Change when they'd start up. Change how many lines we'd start up. Just simple modifications because we were monitoring the systems. This saved us $175,000 a year. Now, the box in the yellow. Now we went out, new high efficiency motors because the facilities are getting older. Motor technology's changed. Over $1 million just by changing out motors in a year. Huge savings just by simple changes. Payback on those projects, less than a year on those. Go ahead and go to the next slide for me, please. This one's even bigger. Now, for us, we're looking, is equipment being utilized? Are they really using this equipment every time they hook up for a plane coming in? So we manufacture and supply the electrical power systems that go to the plane and the air conditioners that go to a plane, and along with other manufacturers that we monitor their stuff as well now. It's not just our stuff. And we needed to know that when a plane gets there, did they hook up the power? Did they hook up the PCR unit? And are they using it? Well, no. First answer. So now run an APU. $67 a minute on average for flight attendants and pilots and stuff on the plane. And so you imagine every 60 seconds I save, that's $67 an hour. We do thousands of flights a day. I don't have to save a lot of time to make back a lot of money. But we had to monitor, we had to see it. You know, we had to make sure in our enterprise asset management system that we knew how long it was taking to get people out there to fix these things and keep them up running. And know that when it needed a PM, somebody was there. And, you know, trigger new PMs out of it. If we get a cold freeze, I have a different set of PMs that have to take place as the weather's changing. And so, you know, we implement some of these new technologies and some of these things, and this is just one facility, you know, $1.6 million a year. Simple changes, making sure it is being utilized. Now, obviously the number is actually really much greater than that now, because we've started adding new things to track on that. Now we're starting to track, are they have to hook up when the unit's not available, a ground unit? You know, what's all the other impact now that we have, because now we've saved the labor from them have to hook that up because we got the equipment running, and all the other things that kind of go along with this as we do this. And it's a simple story for us. You change the next slide for me. So what's our lessons learned here? Go ahead. Well, number one, you remember I'm going to say, not validating data. This will kill you over and over again and cost you thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Even though you may have control systems in place and you may have IoT platforms in place, did somebody physically go verify it? A prime example is I was doing some project management of a brand new facility, 650,000 square feet. They put in an HVAC control systems. And brand new facility, never been turned on, ready to use, we're thinking everything's good to go. We hook up, we're starting to monitor things. We're starting to see some inconsistency in the brand new building that's been balanced. We start making system changes. We realize that the balancing over here is changing, but not the balancing for the area that we're planning to fix. Well, come to find out, this is my story where 40% of those VAV boxes are hooked up wrong. At least in the system, they're telling us that they're over here and they're over there. And then we started looking even further. We started going down the electrical systems. Inside the electrical control boxes, they would say that those operate those plugs over there when actually they operate those plugs. So we had hired an entire set of interns for a summer to come in and validate, because we couldn't make our system changes because things were not right. Cost more to implement. I'm sure every one of you have done this in this room. You put a budget out there, you put a very small contingency because this should be easy, and I've got internal staff, they know how to do this. Guess what? Did any of them cost you exactly what you planned on? Probably not. Lots of reasons. You know, we don't have the right people. New technology came out, we wanted to introduce it. We didn't plan appropriately. Take your time up front, build those reports, and validate. One of the other biggest lessons we learned is, you know, once the floodgates are open, you know, everybody will want more. I need more data, I need more things. Well, you didn't plan for that in your budget either, but they're going to want it. Number one lesson here for me is when I ran those maintenance organizations, we started adding more and more things. What happens? I'm hoping everybody knows who that is, Bubba J there, from Jeff Dunham. love him as a comedian, but pretty much our technicians, our people's got to change. We need data analysts now because I've got data coming in. I can't have my general maintenance mechanic out there who can only repair this much when now I've got control systems and automation. I've got Wi-Fi connections and all the other things that take place. So now I've got to add even more, smart people. And doesn't mean I can train them. I can't take one person from one field and make him know how to do another field. So there is some change management goes along with this. But, that's probably my hardest lesson to learn is, be prepared, because as you add more and more systems, you may be able to reduce the number of people, but you may need different people. You're going to need smarter people as you go forward. All right. Thank you, and I'm sure we'll answer questions here in a minute.